So if you guys can see my screen, this is the final activity of the section number 3 from our design thinking process. So we know that for us to remember what were the stages that we cover. First, we started with a section which is called Getting Started, which is just a preparation for it, in which we learn a little bit more about design thinking, what kind of methodology is. We have said several times, we have insisted on the fact that design thinking is a methodology that you can use in any kind of field. And it's a flexible methodology that you use in order to create solutions for real problems or real people. This is something we've said a lot. You can use design thinking pretty much for anything. But talking about these materials we are using, this is a methodology that is being used a lot in the field of education. And actually, as I've said, also, right now we are conducting a project which is called Innovation Clubs, in which we are working with English teachers from all across the country on this, using design thinking to create solutions for real problems they experience in their classes. So this is something which is being used a lot in education. So that's essentially what we talk about during the first section, and not just design thinking itself, but we wanted to find a problem for which we wanted to propose a solution, right? Then in the section number 1, which is called discovery, what we wanted to do was to understand the challenge better, prepare the research process, and also collect inspiration, gather inspiration. That's what we wanted to do. So we did some exercises and talk, for example, the case of this exercise of inspiration walk, if you remember, and which we wanted to understand what was one of the key characteristics of an experienced designer. So basically, we said that a person who is experienced in designing solutions is a person who can see the problems in context. They just don't focus on the problem itself, but they see the problem in context, and they understand problems as systems as well. So they can propose solutions based also on that. That was a very important reflection. We also talk about the team, our audience, which is the people that we are going to design for, and we prepare for the process of collecting data for this project, right? And we collected that data. Then, as we collected the data, we focus on understanding that information, on the stories themselves and the meanings behind that. And we also wanted to see the opportunities for design that could emerge from there, right? So we basically analyzed that information, right? We extracted information and points of view so we could understand that problem better. And we finished the whole thing with a sketch on that experience in which we connected the relationships, and we basically tried to understand exactly what people were experiencing. That was very important because that was the result of what people said and the inspiration you basically collected. And we said that this semester we would finish with this stage, which is the number 3, which is called ideation. We said that in this final stage for this semester, at least, what we want to do is to generate ideas. And we said that it was somehow more important to go for volume, so to propose as many ideas as possible rather than focusing on the perfect solution. So we did an exercise in which we had a chance to come up with several ideas, different approaches, different ways of doing things. Then the teams voted for their favorite idea, and then as they started to elaborate on that, right? So they even had individual approaches to the same idea. So once you guys selected that idea that you guys thought was the best, then each one of the members of the team would propose a individual specific approach to how that idea works. And that's something that you guys discussed as a team, just to understand exactly how that works. You guys gave feedback to each other, and today we are in a point in which we have one idea that we have, let's say, analyzed more deeply, and we are ready to communicate it. Okay, so that is the process that we have conducted so far, guys. Here, guys, what we're gonna do now is basically to present the idea to the public, let's say. And this is basically the concept of your idea. Okay, that's the final project presentation. Basically, you must present a concept of that idea. Once you have an idea clear, like you know how it works, then the next step is to prototype it. So it's like to actually implement it and test it and collect information on the implementation. That's what we would do on the next stage. That's something we will not do in this case, as I said. And it will be your decision if you want to try that idea yourselves. But here we are going to conclude with this stage. So guys, basically this is what we're going to be doing today. So remember that the important thing here is to communicate effectively that idea. And that's the reason why we are doing such exercise in the context of an English class, right? The most important thing here is not if your idea is just flawless, if it's perfect, if it might work absolutely well. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing here is that you guys can communicate your process and your idea effectively so others can understand exactly what you want. Okay, so that's why it's so important you guys focus on communicating this idea as well. As you'll see, guys, in the activity itself, you guys will present your ideas, but the people from other teams are going to be collecting information from all the groups. So that's part of their homework, about their assignment as well. So you basically, guys, in that presentation, I will be evaluating three things at the same time. First, I'll be evaluating the concept as a group grade. Okay, so each one of you guys, the groups will receive a grade for their concepts, right? That's one thing. So that's one grade basically. The other grade has to do with the individual presentation. So each one of the members must present a section of that, right? And I will grade that individual presentation. So that grade, it's absolutely individual. So you could get an excellent grade in terms of your idea itself. You receive a 5 because your idea is so good and the way you put everything together is just amazing. But at the same time, you can receive a 1 if your presentation is not clear and if it's just confusing. You see, I will by Friday, as well as we'll be talking about evaluation stuff, I will present the rubric that I'll use for that individual presentation. Okay, for that grade that I will give to each one of the teams specifically. So that's why it's important that you guys prepare this as a group, but also you are absolutely ready to present your part, let's say, because that's going to be an individual grade. And the third grade that would emerge from that activity has to do with your process of collecting information from other teams. So and that's something you're going to present individually. So there will be a format that you guys will use so you visit other presentations and you also collect data about them, questions and stuff. So it's like an individual process. So it's not just to present your project, but it has to do also with participating in the other team's presentations. So you as teams will not present just to me, but to the rest of your classmates. Okay, but this is something that I will explain in detail on Friday, so you know exactly what's the dynamic of the whole presentation. So you know exactly what are the steps, the roles. That's something I'll explain on Friday. But my point today here, guys, is that you need to think about those three things. First, your presentation itself as a team. Second, your presentation individually speaking. So it's like how you communicate your ideas clearly to an audience. And three, your participation in other teams' presentations. So how you collect information and how you listen very carefully so you understand their presentations and so on. Okay, so those are three things, three aspects that we're gonna take into account next week. So that might be very challenging. So that's why I believe that you guys need to prepare this in detail. But we're going to start with that first part, which has to do with the grade regarding the team presentation. So these are the aspects that you need to think about, guys, and that you will have to put together on a poster that you'll present that day. Okay. And I'll show you an example of a poster. This is just a format that we're gonna use for that. So first of all, they will ask you about a concept name, okay? So that means the name of your project. And most of you already have names, so no big deal. Here in the sketch, and this is something that you guys have done before in this section, a sketch, basically you need to represent graphically how your idea works. This is something you've done before, as you know. Actually, this is what you did in the previous step, right? So this is just a graphic representation on how your idea works. So it's the process on how your idea works. That's what it means here. It's a sketch, okay? Then there is this section that says, how does it work? So it's basically a description of it. We could say that this is some sort of summary. This is some sort of brief specification of your idea. So basically what you do here is to put in text, this is sketch. So we've got a sketch, and here in this section, we describe that sketch. We basically say, this is exactly how my idea works. Then it says here, what needs or opportunities does the concept address? So it's basically, what is your idea solving? You see? So this idea is solving what problem, basically? But they put it here in a different way. So what needs or opportunities does the concept address? So basically here, we are going to be talking about the needs of those people you want to help, or the opportunities that you have identified, and how your idea is going to see that. You need to see something, guys, which is very important when we are using this methodology. When we are using this methodology, we don't see the problems just as problems. We see the problems as needs, and those needs create opportunity, and that's why we include those two names. Yes, Diego?
Teacher, I have a question because I did not understand very well the second part of the individual presentation, because we need to present the same idea individual or three different idea individual in the same group.
No, it's one single presentation, one single idea. You guys, I mean, you will make a presentation as a group,
Yeah.
but it's about one single idea.
Yeah, and we make the presentation individually, or you are going to?
No, I mean, you will present as a group. You will present as a group, you see, but I will assign different grades to each one of you. You see, so just to give you a random example in your group, let's say Ana Maria starts describing the sketch and how does it work, for example, and then you talk about this section, the needs or opportunities the concept address. You see, and finally, Valeria talks about who does the idea involve. And
okay, so we divide the presentation, and you are going to grade how we express those ideas.
Exactly. Basically, in regarding that part, that grade has to do only with your speaking skills. So that's what I'll be grading, that your speaking skills. So even if your idea sounds too crazy, if it sounds impossible, that's not the point. The point here is how you express that clearly. Okay. And that has to do, and as I said, that's something I'll explain in detail on Friday, exactly the format and everything. So you've got a more clear guidance on that. But as I said, each one of you is going to present one part of a presentation, and I'll be assigning each one of you a specific grade. Okay. So even, for example, let's say I'm in a team and we receive a good grade because of our project itself, and I did an excellent presentation, but my teammate made a terrible presentation. Don't worry, that is not going to affect your performance, your grade, because it doesn't matter. Okay, so you will receive an individual grade on your presentation. That's very important. So here, as I said, the needs or opportunities the concept addresses. So it's basically, what are you solving, in other words? Here, this is so important, guys. They call it one sentence concept description. So here, here, what we have here, it's the description of your idea, what your idea is. Basically, it answers the question, what is it? You see, it's different from this one, because how does it work? It just says how your project works. But the one sentence concept description, it's basically how you can describe your project itself. So for example, talking about the project of Maria Alejandra, Ashley, Johannet, and Dylan are working on. If I want to try to come up with a one sentence concept description, I could say something. It is a nursery service that will cover the basic needs of young mothers who study at La Gran Colombia University, something like that. You see, this is just a random example, but this is a description of your idea. If you come up here, this is my idea, then and if I ask you, okay, and what is it? You need to come up with this. You need to have this super clear, okay? And it might sound like, okay, I can do that. But believe me, sometimes this is so hard for people, especially, for example, if you ask a person, okay, what is your thesis about? Your research project, what it is about? What is it about? Sometimes they don't know how to describe it, you see? So this is very, very important. We need to come up with a very simple one sentence, as it says here, one sentence concept description. That's something we will especially put attention to tomorrow. Then here, who does it involve, both in building and using it? You already know this. This is something you have already prepared in previous stages. And that includes not only the people that you are going to help, but also the people who can help you design your project, I'm sorry. So that means that you include here the audiences, the people that you are going to design for, but also the experts that can help you make your idea better, let's say. And then finally, guys, this is a question that I will for sure would make. It says, what do you hope to learn more about through prototyping this idea? What does it mean? Basically, the question here is, when you implement this idea, what would you like to learn from implementing this idea? Which would be the next step, which is a personal decision, basically, because some of you perhaps would like to continue working on this idea. Well, the question is about that. What would you like to learn when you implement this idea? So in the future, if you make this idea true, you see, if you work on this and you test it, what would you like to learn? Okay, so those are the questions, guys. I'd like to know if you have any question about any of these sections, guys, here.
I have no questions about the sections, but I would like to know if this sketch or this part that describe your idea, we are going to make a presentation or an infographic or something to present that day.
Okay, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. So thank you for the question, Diego. So these are the aspects that you need to discuss and you'll be working on today, okay? To put this to put this together. But as I said, on the day of your presentation, guys, you need to, imagine that you're going to, remember that we're gonna do it on Kumo Space first, so you know how that works. So imagine that you are going to the university. That's what we want to role play, let's say. So if we wanted to go to the university, if that was the case, we would bring a poster, okay? That's what we're gonna use. We are going to bring a poster in which we summarize all of this, and we use that poster as a visual support of this. And that's what you're gonna present. You're gonna present that poster, and with that poster, you guys are going to conduct the presentation. I'll show you right now an example of a poster that we used in a similar project some time ago. This is just the poster empty. Can you see it, guys, the poster?
Yes, teacher.
There you go. So this is a poster to an event that we did before the pandemic in Bucaramanga with some students there. So here, basically, we have the spaces that we described earlier, okay? So the concept name, the sketch, how does it work, the address opportunities, who does it involve? This is the kind of poster that we are going to create. As you can see here, guys, it's super simple, okay? because we want to focus on those areas and to see exactly this as a perfect summary of the whole thing, of everything you've made so far. Okay, it is as simple as this. This was clearly designed on Canva back then. So if you go there, you will find pretty much the same format. You can choose, of course, the colors. You can create a logo, if you will. This is not mandatory, but of course that makes that has a very good impact on it. So you can create a logo, as I said, but this is basically the information you need. So you would have a poster like this, but with the text included here and the sketch and everything. So one thing you can do would be to create just the template, and then you can work on this later. I mean, that could be an option. You have the template ready, you create it on Canva, for instance, and then you insert the text and the sketch here. That's one example. But you can do everything 100% directly on Canva. That's completely your decision. But this is just an example on how the poster could look. Okay, and this is the only thing you're going to present that day. You know that when we started the semester, we also had a format for a business plan, right? Template. That's something we're going to be discussing tomorrow, because that's one of the things that you need to hand in. Okay, but today I want you just to focus on this. I want you to focus on what I just explained and this format, because the day of a presentation, this is the only thing which is mandatory. It's mandatory for you to have this. Okay, so we'll see exactly how to put it, but if you know, on Kumo Space, on every single table, we can put like the image there. So for example, when I go to your table, I just click on that image and I will see the image big. And then you talk and I listen to you as I see the image. It is as simple as that. Okay, we're gonna do a demonstration tomorrow, so you see how that works, but it's as simple as that. Okay, this is the only thing you need to have for your presentation, your poster with this information. As you see here, we don't include all the information which is here, right? We don't include the whole thing here. But it doesn't mean that it ignores that. The point here is, guys, that in the presentation, this is the kind of things that you need to talk about, even if it's not 100% reflected here. You could put everything on the poster. You can do that, absolutely. But this is, as I said, just an example, which is like more concise, let's say. But you can include everything here. Okay, guys, is that clear?
Yes, teacher.
So if that's okay with you guys, in this moment, I will also share that. Let me see. I will share an image of the poster. So you guys have there a reference. I'm gonna just share it right now on the WhatsApp group. So I just shared it there, guys, just for you to see an example or what we expect to see there as a poster. But once again, of course, to choose the colors, and you can include logos and stuff, but this is an example of what we expect to see. That's the only thing. You don't have to bring videos or anything else, just that poster. Okay, guys, is there any question about that? No questions?
No, teacher, no, it's clear.
Okay, great, guys, great. So if that's okay with you guys. Yes, Valeria.
Yes, teacher, sorry, I have a question. The poster could be, for example, just the name of the project and one image, and we explain that image, and that image has all these questions we need to explain, or we need to put like question per question.
Well, just once again, remember that we are trying to somehow role play this. So if we were doing this on a physical space, this is some sort of fair, right? That would be some sort of fair. So imagine that each one of the teams would have their stand, and that's how we're gonna do it on Kumo Space. You would have your stand, and people would be walking around that room, watching their posters, and because your poster is not just a poster, it's how you somehow hook the people up, you see. So it's like how do you attract people, or how you call people's attention to your presentation, you see. So you need to keep that in mind. The poster has that function. The poster basically summarizes and represents in a visual graphic way the whole idea you guys have put together. So so that's why the example goes like this. If it's just an image, for example, I mean, and I don't know if you mean like an actual image, like a photography or something, perhaps that wouldn't be enough, because that doesn't say everything. Even if your presentation is just so good, remember that you need something to call people's attention. That's one of the functions of the poster. Yeah, the poster summarizes information and the process, yes. But apart from that, the poster also calls people attention. So you present to them, you see? So that's why I share this format with you, because if this format has got the basics. So imagine that I mean, your poster needs to also describe the idea as good as possible. Because imagine, once again, imagine that you are in a physical space, someone goes to your table, and perhaps in that moment you are not on the table, you're not there, you're not on in your stand. So if the poster is there, people can read and people can somehow understand. Okay, so let's try to make sure that your poster is self-explaining. Okay, that the poster alone explains the idea well as well. That would be a way in which you can see, or you can determine, you can be, you know, sure that your poster is good. Your poster is good as long as it is somehow self-explaining. Okay, if it doesn't need too much of an explanation. So that's something that you need to keep in mind for assessing your own poster. I don't know if I answered the question, Valeria.
Yes, teacher, thank you.
There we go. Any other question, guys? No. Okay, guys. So remember that we have just recorded this part. We recorded this part as well. So this explanation is there for you to check later. So what we're gonna do now, guys, I will give you the rest of this time to work on that, because tomorrow we need to present a draft. So tomorrow, in tomorrow's class, we are going to have a look at that draft. So that means that I will be working sometime with each one of the teams just to see your advances and to help you, you know, improve those things. I personally would suggest that you start by working on the information rather than on the design, because the information is what we're gonna check tomorrow. So that's why I suggest, and that's why I showed you that information that way. You should start working here, of course. Don't worry about the design today. We should work on this, and this is what we are going to discuss and analyze tomorrow with each one of the teams, okay? Tomorrow, hopefully I'll feel even better. So I will work with each one of the teams just to see this and just to try to understand this better. As you can see here, this is not about writing a lot. It's about writing exactly what you need to write and be super clear. And even more if you know that you are going to put this in a format like this. So that means that you need to be super clear, straightforward, okay? So that's, you guys will be working on this. It's starting now, and tomorrow we're gonna have a look at this. So that's why we need to do that just like that, okay? So guys, if that's okay with you, let me see, I will open the breakout rooms, of course. I'll stay here. I'll stay here and I can go and visit the teams as you need, guys. But this is what we are going to do now. Okay, so guys, I'll open the breakout rooms in this moment. Should you need my help, just let me know and I will jump directly there. Okay, guys, so let's go.